In our last video, we discussed the three main focuses that we need to have if we really want to get control of our economic future and manage our finances. And of course, there was preparing for disasters with the insurance aspect of things. There was also retirement, savings and retirement, and how important that is for the future. And then also, especially for the time that we either have to quit work or we'd like to quit work, right? We want to be able to support ourselves then. And finally, there was the idea of controlling our income, controlling our expenses, and then being able to make progress financially from that very powerful area of control. And so we're going to focus on that in principle, on income and expenses, because it is so fundamental, and you're going to find that it's a reoccurring theme in everything that you hear from any, pretty much any financial advisor. Is that it's so basic. Controlling our expenses really is so basic to economic health that if a person has not reached the point of being able to do that, then that should become the whole focus of one's entire life, of one's entire attention when it comes to that aspect of life, finances, because it is so incredibly important. And we're going to discuss why here a little bit. So just think about what it means to balance your income and your expenses, what it means to be balanced that way. See, because a lot of people would feel that as long as they're not spending more than they're making, then they're okay, see? And what we're talking about is the basic needs of life. I think we ticked those off. It was food, shelter, food, shelter, clothing, and children. And of course then you have your fuel and your utilities that go on top of that. But just your monthly expenses, your fixed and variable expenses that you get on a monthly basis. So if we spend as much as we make, that's balanced, right? I mean, a lot of people would feel that. At least they're not going into debt. But actually, that's not accurate according to our measure, because how are you going to ever get any extra money to deal with your assets, to grow your assets? And another thing that happens is when you want to go on a vacation. See, this is beyond your normal cost of living. And so usually what happens? Well, we go into debt for that. We whip out the credit card. What happens when we need a vehicle? Well, we go into debt for that. So if we don't have anything left over, what happens is over the course of the 5 years, our debt piles up, our debt piles up, our debt piles up, and we don't have anything extra to put into it, so it just continues to pile. It never comes down. And there we are, stuck in that situation, going backwards financially. So when we talk about balance between income and expenses, we need to consider that stacking up of the debt, those extra things that come in that you need from outside of your normal day-to-day existence, eking out your existence. And so really then we come back to that point, having a substantial amount of money left over at the end of every month. And another very sensitive kind of a contributor to human happiness is the ability to help others in meaningful ways. Okay, so I mean, people much wiser than any of us for thousands of years have been saying, they've been repeating, you've probably heard it, that statement, there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. And some people are not balanced about that either, I'm sure, but the fact is that when someone that's close to you comes along, they need help, and when you have to decide between helping them and hurting your family, that takes a lot of the fun out of it, right? But if you do have a little bit extra, a little bit, and then you can help them without hurting your family, see, that's when a person can experience the joy of that 2,000-year-old concept, and that's another aspect that we really need to look at, because I think it's true. Many people would agree with that. Okay, so you have this concept of income and expense and the relationship between those two, and it's easy to think of income as your power and expenses as your control. And you could think of it like driving a car, because it's fun to drive a powerful car. You get a car with a souped-up engine; it's a lot of fun. But can you imagine trying to drive that car without a steering wheel? I mean, how much fun would that be? You could really cause a lot of havoc that way, and get yourself into big trouble. And so it's the same way with your earning power. Whether your earning power is great, you have a lot of earning power, or whether it's more moderate, you still need a steering wheel on that baby, and that's where your expenses, controlling your expenses, comes into play. And so we need to have a little left over at the end of the month, and we need to control to do that. And again, like a car, you don't, like, for whatever speed that you're going in your car, there's a point, like if you go around the corner, where your tires are going to break loose and you're going to lose control. So you always want to back off the power. You don't want to use. You always want to back off so you can continue to control your car. It's the same thing with your finances, because it's easy to go out with the power of that money and just to buy things and things that buy more expensive things. And I think we mentioned, when you get higher earnings, when you get more power, you could probably graduate from living in a small house to living in a big house, and the cost would go up there. You could probably also eat more steak and less chicken, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you can see how probably expenses are the more important facet of the mix, and the income is less important. Because if you're making $2,000 a month, but you're only spending $1,500, you have $500 a month left, and that's a positive place to be. But if you're making $4,000 a month and you're spending $4,500, then you have a more comfortable life on the outside, but inside, you see, you're feeling the stress of that, because every month you're going into debt $500, and your debt is going up $6,000 a year. And what's happening to your plans for the future? There is none. They've been sacrificed for the comforts of the moment. And self-discipline and self-respect and wisdom and forward vision, these things are necessary for us, and we would recommend that as adamantly as we possibly can to learn those controls and to sort of enforce them in our families, because a lot of times we're not the only ones in our family, right? So those precepts have to be passed along in that way. So this relationship between income and expenses, we wanted to just discuss that, and I know to many people that's a rather a basic concept, but we do know also from being in the financial services sector that there are a vast amount of people that have not, even though they may realize those precepts, they have not practiced the control. They've not practiced the discipline. And my friends, you really need to think about that. And so we're going to move on in the future videos to some more to some higher level concepts. But we're going to hang around on this end of things for a couple more videos, and hope that those of you who have not practiced yet will be able to get some benefit from that. And so thank you for your attention on this video. And also, we'd encourage you to look over that questionnaire, even if you're not really ready to fill it out yet. Look it over, so that you'll know as you go along with these videos, so that you'll pick up some insights, and it'll help to groom your attitude, groom your perspective, so that you'll be able to get more benefit out of that when you do decide to send it in and do that consultation with us.